Bob Zurich. Bob Kleppel.
Here.
Kevin Creedy.
Here.
Nick Obermark. Jeff Patke. Tessie Stevens.
Here.
Steffens, sorry.
That's okay.
Bad habit of mine.
It's all right. Here. Either
Mark.
way.
Parky Stuckenschneider.
Here.
That ain't the worst.
Debbie Totenbush. Dave Waymeyer. Betty Werner. Gavin Woolley.
Present.
And myself.
Bob Zirk is here.
Oh, hi, Bob.
Okay, the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to start by, I guess, introducing Kristen, our new reporter from the Missourian.
Welcome.
Glad to have you with us. Please say kind things about most of us. Approval of the minutes from our last meeting in January. May I have a motion? Motion
Second.
by Bob, second by Gavin. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Parks report. Wayne, you got something you want to talk about?
Yeah, just a few updates. I'll try to keep them brief. We have the railroad fence finally going in down along the West Trail. So that started. They have, I think all the posts are in right now, and then they also started, I think tomorrow, or soon. We've cleared over at the old sand plant, the area over there where the barges used to dock. All the old fencing and trees and stuff that were growing up in there, it's all been cleared and graded. There was a huge pile of dirt down there too that was removed and hauled to another location and then graded out. So that's all in preparation for putting in that cable fence down there, so that's good. Dog park fence is also being installed. They have all the posts in down there as well. Both locations are dealing with the wet weather and muddy conditions, but they are working and are moving forward slowly.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Is the westward trail, is that a subcontracted or is that in-house?
No, they're both subcontracted.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question about the dirt you hauled off,
Yes.
and it was before your time, and I guess the board, didn't we haul that down there because we were gonna plant grass to have a grass area there?
I was told that it was hauled down there. They were going to do trees on berms down there. But I think with in my short time here, I've heard a lot of complaints, issues with planting trees down along the riverfront and blocking site views and stuff, so.
I would've swore we brought it down there and put grass there because they were gonna let people camp with tents or
Oh.
something. It was something to that effect.
That was discussed.
Yeah, that was like 3 years ago or
That was
4
a
years.
That was
long,
discussed.
a long time ago.
I mean, there is a big grassy area down there just to the right of that.
Well, the parks are going to use the dirt, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it went to Burger Park because we need dirt over there, so. Yeah, it got put to good use.
Is that a suggestion for the homeless or something?
No.
No, we've had people.
This was 3 years ago or so that we had people want to camp
Well,
with tents, and they wanted a grass area down on that end, and I would have swore that's
Well,
what
they
it
were,
was
you
for.
know, we do they do the kayaking races and things on the Missouri, and they wanted to use that for an overnight and then, continue on down wherever they all kayak to, but that was that discussion.
Yeah, I mean, right now we have an ordinance that says no camping,
Right.
at Riverfront
Well, I
Park.
think they let one or two of them, and I'm not sure how that all happened, but that was the main reason, because they do various, in the spring and summer, the kayaking that goes on. The big Missouri race, I think is called, I don't remember the name of it, but,
There's several canoe races that,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Well, they do
that
one wave
use.
runners, too.
Yeah,
Great River Race.
thank you.
And there is a plan to develop that whole area in the future, kind of out in the distance. So I'm trying to get myself familiarized with that plan. in the short term, I have a lot of other stuff going on, a lot of other projects too, so. I think in the closer term is to I can't remember off the top of my head what year that the gravel lot down there is scheduled to be blacktopped. I think in the next couple of years.
That was in a half-cent sales.
Yes. That's coming
Because
up
there
in the
was
next
also-
year or two, I think.
There was also a plan for a little
Amphitheater and all that stuff. That's kind of the
That
plan I
money,
was,
that money would never
You never
never materialized.
right, yeah. So the plan's still out there, but it's not funded really, so. Also, you'll probably be seeing in the near future, as long as the weather cooperates, that the West Trail Bridge, before you make the loop out there, the contractor was out, has been out once, well, I think he's been back here the last couple days. We're kind of trying to get going on that again. My point is, you'll see the bridge close probably soon again, so they can, they got a core drill into the bridge and then pump that concrete in and shore everything up. And so they were down there this week trying to mark the rebar in the bridge so we can determine where we can core drill and not hit the rebar. And then we'll be hopefully on our way on that one too. So I just didn't want you guys to be surprised that we're have to close that bridge again for a little bit. And then I know Jeff knows, and maybe you guys saw the pictures on Facebook. At the last council meeting, we recognized Jackie Miller for her contribution to the city in the donation of the Miller Post Nature Reserve, the 67 acres that she donated a couple years ago or a few years back. And so now she has a plaque out here in the hallway on the under the it's the Excellence in Conservation and Ecology Award. And so her name is permanently displayed under there. And she was very happy to get it and had a number of family members in from Kansas just for the event. So it was good. And I think some of them went up and actually saw the new trail and the fence and everything that was put in.
I wish we would have gotten a heads up about that,
Yeah.
that was being done.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay. Yeah, that's good to know.
For future.
That didn't even cross my mind. I'm
For
sorry.
future nominees and recipients.
We had kind of, admin was working on it some, and then Casey ordered the plaque, and so I will keep that in mind for the future. And that's all I have for Parks Report.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Anybody in the audience, communications? Old business, a review of the main park playground, our visit there.
Yes, so in the packet, you saw based on what we discussed that day at Main Park at our walkthrough, you saw the placement of the playground pods, and that's what we all decided when we were up there. And then other things for anyone that missed, there was a question about ages and what ages the playground structures were for, and so I got a little clarification on that. And so the playground will be for ages 2 through 12. So I think that should cover everything that we have in place now as far as what's there and the ages that we currently have playgrounds for. And then it was also suggested to have a little bit more lighting around the new playgrounds if possible. And so I think we should be able to accomplish that. And try to get the overhead power lines removed. That's a big one. We're going to try to do that. Hopefully we can incorporate that. We want to do the same thing with the new pool, because there's a lot of them running through up there too, around the pool area, and we want to try to get those underground when we do the pool work. So hopefully we can try to get all that together underground. And then I guess based on the drawing I had up there at our walkthrough, everyone that showed up wanted the two playgrounds switched. The bigger one placed more towards the existing path that goes up to the restroom. So I had that done, and that's what you see in your packet. That's what we discussed. So I guess if everyone's okay with what they saw on the aerial there, we just need a recommendation by Park Board.
Okay.
I won't hold it up, but I still think it's too close. That's still my opinion.
Too close to
To
the
the ball
ball.
field. I think it's too close to foul balls. I still do. Again, I've spoke to Wayne, I spoke to Darren about it. I'm not gonna hold the process up against it, but I hope, in a year or two from now, have to put a fence up to stop foul balls from hitting the kids. I hope it doesn't happen.
Would it look unsightly if we had some kind of a fence barrier there between that and that immediate playground?
Well, I think if it was a fence, it'd have to be 15 or 20 feet tall to do any good, you know, I think.
You almost need a netting or something like that.
Yeah, if you
Like the
do,
backstop.
yeah, to keep it unsightly, you put it as part of the ballpark.
Yeah. Okay.
There have been balls that go out that far.
Pardon me?
There has been baseballs that land out that
Well,
far.
when are we planning on doing this?
Well, the goal was to have it open, like installed, not necessarily landscaped, but installed by June 1st for day camp and for when the pool's open.
Yep.
And so we need to get going. There's quite a bit, there's a week worth of grading that we have to do up there in-house before we can even start on installing the new pads for the playgrounds.
Well, I don't know. The meeting that we had down there, nobody expressed any.
I wasn't able to make it there.
Yeah, I understand. But
We could see when, you know, when we were out there, we could see in that little plot of land, between the, like the two walkways, that you didn't want anything, and that was like a site for something. And we could see that for foul balls for sure. But seeing where this is, we thought that it would not. And, well, I know, I guess if we put more lighting, it would be used for a longer amount of time. But it didn't seem to be an issue. More of an issue was the overhead wires. You know what I mean? I hope we're good on this, because I would say that it looks good and we should do it.
The only thing I'd say
I'm
is,
not a ball player.
you're either gonna put a fence over here, or you're gonna put a fence on High Street.
Yeah,
If you move it back, you know, where the other ones were.
right.
You're gonna end up with a fence. One way or another, you're gonna end up with a fence.
Yeah.
And maybe you won't, I mean, it may turn out fine.
It may, you're exactly right. I'm not gonna hold it up. I'm not
Yeah,
trying to.
it's a
push it
concern.
anyway. It's just a concern of mine that I still feel, again.
No,
I
that's
think-
true.
No hard feelings. I just.
Yeah.
stress that don't be surprised in a year or two, you know, we have to come back and be like, look,
Then you
I
can
hope I'm
say-
not right, but I hope you're right and we gotta put a net up. And if that's worst case, then that's okay.
I know we can try to landscape along that pathway if we plant maybe some trees. I know it'd take a year,
Right.
a couple of years to get them big, but we
That
could
was-
plant like a row of trees along that pathway, say, well, either side, I guess.
That'd be nice.
Maybe even closer on the ballpark side of the field side of it,
Little bit
something that grows
shade.
pretty quick.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I know when we discussed it, you know, we tried, I had them, I guess initially, Jeff, when you expressed concern the first time, we had them, that was after we had moved that one piece from that little island up there, way up there by the bleachers.
Correct.
But we still had them just, I guess, east of that. And now we've moved them, because I think at the last park board meeting, you had said really nothing west of the pavilion. And so we tried to get them down as close as we could in that area. I know they do go just a tiny bit west of the pavilion, but I think,
Are those swings closest to the pavilion?
Yes.
yes. I
That's
don't
the
have
ones
it in
we
front of me. I
flip
think
And the
that's-
little green, what is that, around the trees, does that mean that,
That's a tree.
That's in.
Yeah, that's a tree.
those are trees.
so they're not coming down?
No, no, no.
Okay, that-
That's just to show you where the big
Okay,
existing
got
trees
it,
are.
got it. Okay, just want to make sure they're not coming down.
The other scenario is, the Ronzik infield is part of the capital improvement sales tax, you know, as far as having turf goes. There's
Correct.
gonna be some improvements with the side fencing and things like that at that time.
So maybe that's.
Hopefully, maybe the backstop, poles, you know, that could maybe be, I mean, 4 feet higher would make a big difference.
Yep.
You know, I mean, what it would stop, so it's something we can look at in a year or two.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very good point,
that works.
We're more deterrent from the fall.
The American Legion got any interest in fencing?
Well, I don't know. I know they're concerned about that playground equipment, especially since we flipped it, that bigger piece come close, looks to me like it come closer to that
Yeah, 'cause
concession stand.
That's what we discussed that day.
Right.
Yeah.
And them balls do go over that concession stand, I'll guarantee you. That's
What I was getting at was
What-
the
what are-
American Legion
what are
got any
our
funds
choices
to,
if we-
to fund a fence?
Not really.
What are the choices I mean,
We either,
do we just hold up the project, or
no.
do we proceed like we are right now, or do we try to move this thing?
Well, Darren expressed to me, whenever I brought this up the last time, and said, you know, we really need to get this going so we can have it in by, day camp.
Yeah.
Correct.
1st of June. So, you know, my concerns were holding things up, so don't do that. But, again, like I said before, I'm not holding the process up. We just have to be open to the fact that we may have to protect something there with a fence or netting something, in the future. I understand it needs to be further away from the street. I get it. I just don't want somebody from the Legion to be liable for a foul ball or something like that when the kids, you know, what happens, that's all.
The only thing I'll say is
We won't be like.
if the playground equipment were over further closer to the street, and
Yep.
if the gods are saying, and I don't know who makes that determination, but if it was closer and you had to put up a fence, if somebody's looking at that now, it's coming in the future. It's just another 5 years off, where
As far
somebody's
as
gonna
putting a
say,
fence along High Street, you mean?
yeah, it's a park, you're gonna have to fence it. To me, that's inevitable.
Well, and the other thing is that the current equipment, there's liability with that equipment as well. Because, I mean, it's not in the best shape, and when we were out there, some of it, you know, was raised, and the bottom part of all around those equipment is coming off, and.
Yeah, the
and
base is the worst part, I think, right?
Yeah, but there's some the
There's.
rubbers,
Yeah,
the rubber coating that coats the metal is coming off, so now you're starting to see
There was
rust.
some issues there, so I mean, I
Here's
don't,
where you don't want to hold it up.
that's right, that's my point, that's why you don't want to hold it up.
That is correct.
Well, that-
Some of that equipment, or if not all of it, has to be taken out.
It's got to go.
Eventually.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the reason we're putting it over there, part of the reason was because of the restrooms, wasn't it? I mean, it's,
There was concerns as far as being able to watch your kids and go to the restroom.
Correct.
So, yeah, it's,
I don't know, I mean, putting a fence between the baseball field, you're never gonna have a fence that's gonna catch 100% of the ball. You can't get one tall enough. I mean, they
They
foul
don't do
balls
it-
back out of Busch Stadium, and it's.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they don't do
Fucking
it in
hundreds
in the major leagues, so, I mean, I'm not,
well, you're right, but to that exact point, though, we've all been to ball games at Busch
Right.
Stadium, and the netting is here.
Right.
Now they've extended it to the end of the dugouts, and a little
exactly.
bit taller. They know that. There's a reason for that. Enough
Because
have
people
gotten
don't
hurt.
pay attention.
People don't pay attention.
But if we are
the
gonna-
6-year-old kid's not gonna pay attention on the swing.
right, but if we are going to upgrade out there and do some things within the next year or two, is that the timeline for Runsick? Like you said, like the turf and,
Yeah, I think it's probably 3 years
I think
out.
it's
I think it's
23 or 24,
23
somewhere
or
into there.
24, I think is what, I'm hoping for money before then, but
yeah, I mean, if we got money before, then we could do it sooner, correct?
I guess that's to be determined.
and you could also probably do the fence before you did the field,
Well,
if you're gonna do it.
Or the netting or whatever it
right,
is.
I don't know, right. And maybe the netting's not gonna change. I don't know. I'm just,
Right.
something to think about. If it's an issue, that's something that can be played in
Right.
at that time.
Well, I don't want to endanger anybody, but I do think that the current equipment needs to go.
Yeah, but
And there are reasons that it needs to go sooner than later. So I'm going to, you need a recommendation?
well, wait, just one more thing. Let me make one
Okay.
comment. If there is a concern here, are we building something that we shouldn't be building, that, and putting it in a spot, I mean, that we shouldn't be putting it in? If there is that concern,
Well, again, Spark, I wanna say this one more time. I'm not here to hold it up, and like Danny said, we're gonna put a fence around it somewhere, either on High, if we put it right back where the old ones are at, we're gonna take this along High Street. And I agree, I understand that. I just want the board to know that we put this in, we see it's an issue, we may have to put a netting up to protect it at that time.
yeah.
You know, I know we need new equipment. I know it's the place it needs to go. We moved it from within those 2 sidewalks because that was definitely a hot spot, for lack of better terms. You know, it's just it still stays on the concern radar, but the netting at the ball field or possible netting next to it. I mean, you go to Martinsville, they have a netting completely over top of the whole thing because it happens. You know, they're very close to the ball field there, don't get me wrong, but, you know, you just gotta do it.
Okay, we put it in with the thought process that if we have to do something, we do it.
Yeah,
Correct.
Wanna
Exactly.
Protect it. Okay,
Just know it might be a,
okay, so
so you
Tessie?
need a motion
we need a
I need a
motion to,
to accept the plan and to take it on to council. I'll make that motion. I need a
do we
second.
have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay.
Now, you two are gonna get sued for foul balls.
Hey, go ahead, take it all. I'll just move it.
Okay, the new business, a new aquatic facility. You want to give an update?
Yes, so we had a meeting with the aquatics facility on February 4th at 3:30 in here. Just a quick update. So we are into the design, well, we have a RFQ has been issued, and that is to select a design build firm. And so I'll kind of just read through this real quick here. The date that those, there's an RFQ that was sent out by Landmark, our owner's rep, and those are due back to the city on February 21st by 2 p.m. And so once the RFQs are received, it'll be, the firms that submitted will be evaluated by staff, and there'll be 3 firms that are shortlisted based on qualifications. And then the shortlisted firms will be issued a request for a proposal. And once the RFPs are received, then they'll be reviewed, like I was saying, and evaluated, and then a final selection will be made based on preliminary concepts and costs. And so they'll take all 3 firms' concepts, and then staff will sit down and kind of say, we like this, we don't like this, because all 3 firms, the firm we'll be going with, and then the 2 other firms that weren't selected, the city will be, based on this design build process, will be paying for their concepts. So even though the 2 firms that didn't get selected, if they have something, if they submitted something that we like, we can pick and choose from those 2 firms, or all 3 firms, I should say, and come up with an idea that we like best. And then the firm that was selected then will be able to say, all right, we like these 3 things, we like these 4 things, whatever, we want to do this. The Aquatics Facility Committee will be brought in to that process. Staff will review all these, make a recommendation to the Aquatics Facility Committee. They'll meet, review everything, look at the staff's recommendation, and then a decision will be presented. So then with that said, and I'll send this out to you guys so you have it. This is the target schedule that Landmark submitted. On February 3rd, the RFQs went out. On February 21st, they'll be due at 2 p.m. February 24th through March 6th, the City of Washington will review the submitted RFQs. And then on March 3rd, we'll have the next Aquatic Facility Committee update. And that'll be at 3:30 here. And then on the 9th, March 9th, the City of Washington will issue an RFP to a minimum of the 3 shortlisted firms. And there's a bunch of more dates, but I'll send those out to you guys. I'll just copy and paste into a new email for you. And then if you have any questions, you can ask me. What's been done so far? We've had a site walkthrough, so myself and other city staff met with Landmark and Cochran Engineering. We did a site walkthrough. The issuance of the RFQ has been done, and then now we're kind of starting the RFP process. So there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. Right now, mainly on Landmark's end, just getting all this out, all the paperwork out to the public, to all these firms. And then skipping forward a few dates here. The last day that the current pool will be open will be August 1st, and then demo of the existing pool could begin as soon as Monday, August 3rd. And then ideally, if weather cooperates, they have us opening the new pool on May 29th, 2021. Excuse me. So we'll see.
Which coincides with the founding of Washington, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really?
What was that?
It coincides with the founding of Washington,
Oh.
May 29th.
Oh, my God. You're
But-
just full of trivia.
You're just putting, you're putting the pressure on, aren't you?
It also coincides
There's a
with
sign
Memorial
over
Day.
at the lake I walk past every day.
So that's kind of it in a nutshell, what's been going on and some dates. Like I said, a lot of those dates are subject to change based on weather, but, so it's moving along, and it's going to get busy real quick.
Any
Any
questions?
questions on that? And I'll send those dates to you.
Okay.
I guess next would be patrons
Next
in the
is
park.
patrons in the park, and I'll begin this, and Tessie and myself, Wayne and Robin, we met a couple weeks ago on
Yep.
trying to activate the, let's say, the patrons of the park. The 501c3 that we had expired, and so we have to put in for a new one of those, and it was thought that maybe, I think that went in as Friends of the Park, that the best thing we could do is change the name, so we would be changing it to Patrons of the Park, maybe. That's a possibility. We've been in contact with Mark Piontek, so he can help us out with what to do and give us some advice. We were wondering if city employees and/or park commission members can serve on that committee. We were thinking of a committee of probably 9 people. We would like all of you guys to give some thoughts as to who might, people that you might think would be good members of this committee, and so that we can kind of put something out and make sure that these people are involved and are communicated to. I did some research online. There is at least about 20 parks in the state of Missouri that have Friends of the Park. A number of them, it's not financial support, it is manual support. There's a lot of them that do it that way, and they become friends. So that's where we are right now. I think it's extremely important that we activate this thing and hopefully get some money coming into the park system. Any questions? Tessie, you got anything to
No,
add?
just that we also talked about, besides Sparky and I, and this would be just in the formation of this and the vision that we have for this and meetings that we will have, we would like to have at least 3 members of the park board besides ourselves be on this committee, because it's going to take a little bit. I mean, when we are asking, when we had this before, we needed people from the community with a lot of energy and a lot of interest in the park that would be willing. I don't know the specifics, but I'm going to say that would meet maybe once a month, maybe every quarter. We've got to get that narrowed down. But, and when people donate and hopefully contribute to our parks, you know, they determine like where the money goes and what happens to the funds. So there's some big responsibility with the people that we ask to serve as the board of patrons of the park. But we would like more involvement from our park board. So if you are interested, if you would let Sparky or I know, because we will be doing some planning meetings. Otherwise, if we don't get any input, we're going to ask you. We're going to say, you're on it. So if you
That's
get
not
a chance,
asking.
well, you're going to say you're on it. Because it's not going to work. It's like anything. It's not going to work if everybody doesn't buy into it. So we need you all to buy into it. Other than that, we're waiting to hear back from the lawyer on some specific questions we have. Robin had some really good ideas about forming like a sheet to say, like if I had a friend and I'm like, oh, I'd really like you to be on this, and they say, what does it involve? and it's going to tell you some of the things. So it's easier to ask somebody to say, would you consider this, as opposed to not knowing a lot of things. So we've been working on that, and just give it some thought, because hopefully by next month or pretty soon, we're going to get this committee up and going.
Also, there is, and I think Wayne brought this to our attention, the National Association of Park Foundations has a training session each year, and this year it's August the 30th to September the 3rd in Wheeling, West Virginia. And that's where it is every year, I think. And so there's a possibility that some people may be going to that.
So that's another, and the webinar. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that you could do it that way as well.
Courses down there.
So anyway, that's where we are with it. We're trying to get it up and going, and we're going to need everybody's help.
Any questions? Yes, we do have one.
Sitting here thinking, are you going to look more in terms of individuals for this board? Or are you going to look in terms of organizations? Just sitting here, I came up, with the representative of the Fair Board, downtown, America in Bloom, sports. Are you thinking more, outside of,
We're thinking outside of those entities only because, and that doesn't mean that it wouldn't change, only because from previous experience. Those entities, like when you say you have your, I'm just going to use because I'm familiar, your America in Bloom, your Reading Wednesday group, they donate all of their time, and it's a wonderful thing. This is probably, at least in the beginning, a little bit more, I would say, financial. Not saying that everybody on that board does not go out to these groups, or go out and try to, maybe get some sponsorship, or we don't know all the parameters yet. So, we can't say for sure we wouldn't do that idea, but that the 501(c) gives you parameters on what you can do and how your board is set up. And when we did it last time, it was like a president, a vice president, a secretary, somebody to do the accounting. And they had to meet so many times a year, you know what I mean? And they kind of oversee or draw the community in for ideas. So I compare it to what the library does and Friends of the Library. And the Friends of the Library now has been operating for about 10 years. And they do book sales, they bring in authors, you know what I mean? But the 501(c) kind of sets up the guidelines, and then the board or the committee that we hope to form, then we're going to learn what we can do and not.
Okay.
A guy that comes to my mind when you say that, is it Dave Waymeyer? Who am I thinking of that?
Yes.
Used to be at Hillerman's?
Yeah, he's on this
He's
board.
on this board.
He's
Yeah.
on this board.
He's on the board. He's on the
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. So, but throw it out, just think of some people in the community that really like the parks, want to maybe donate. But first thing, think about which one of you or all of you that are going to volunteer to help be on the committee.
to establish it,
Yes, to get it
to
started,
establish the patrons.
to get it going.
Okay.
Okay?
So I had emailed, I had a number of questions, 3 or 4 or 5 questions from Mark Piontek, and he responded, I sent him by email, and he responded, and I didn't understand quite everything he was telling me, and so we've been playing phone tag ever since. I was hoping to have an update before this meeting tonight, but didn't happen, so I'll keep working on it, and I'll get the information out to you guys, so, thank you.
Good.
Any other questions? Okay, next is updating park entry signs.
Yeah, I was hoping to have a better update than what I have. I'm still working with, just going through, I've taken pictures, kind of reviewing all the signs that we have out there. Trying to have some money budgeted on updating or like doing a revision to some of the signs. A lot of them are faded, some of them are faded and different colors, and we're looking for a more consistent professional-looking theme, and so working on that. And when I have something a little better than what I have now, I'll bring it to you guys to take a look at. So that's all I have on that.
Okay, and then Park and Recreation here in review, you've got something attached.
Yeah, that was attachment. I had created that. I thought it would be good for you guys to see. I had created that, I think this fall when I did one of my first presentations to one of the fraternal organizations. And then I also used it on, for Kristen, for her article. And just trying to educate the public a little bit. You may have noticed that with Facebook, our Facebook page, we're pushing out a lot of pictures of projects and things we're working on, and just to kind of educate the public on, we're not just mowing grass all day. There's a lot of other things going on in the park
I think it's a
system.
great list.
So,
I think you got accomplished a lot this past year.
No, I think it's a great list. I think it's great that you put it out there because I think people don't know what all's going on. So I wanted to thank you, your staff, your workers for putting it out there and all that you've been doing to let the public know what's going on. I think that just builds a lot of good trust and people see what's going on and assumptions aren't being made. So I compliment you and your staff and the workers for all the hard work they do.
oh, thank you. I'll
Well
pass
done.
that on.
Well said, Tess.
Okay, I have one other question.
Go right ahead.
Can I ask? And maybe it's already over. So we got those pictures of whoever's been driving through the park.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and then we were supposed to talk about locking gates. Has that already been done and I just?
No, it hasn't. That's next on my list. It wasn't on your agenda because it
Okay,
was
yeah,
added
I
late.
didn't see
but-
it, so that's why, okay.
And I actually got an update today, too. So also in the email, the agenda email, you saw a picture of donuts that were spun up at the fairgrounds for the umpteenth time since I've been here. And sometimes we catch them, most of the time we don't. We had another one right back in, I guess it was right before Christmas. Well, yeah, right around Christmas time. And we were able to catch that young man who just happened to be going into the Marines. And we did get some payment from him. With that said, it was brought up at the last council meeting for the park board to make a recommendation or at least think about locking some of the gates up at the fairgrounds to kind of limit access up there. And so I went up there and looked around. I talked to Chief. He's willing to, I guess what I would propose would be that we close some of the gates at night, not necessarily lock them, but close them. And then parks would open them in the morning. And so what we were thinking would be we would, let's see, make sure I'm telling you this right here. And so during the day, these gates would be open, but they would be closed at night. So the south ticket gate, open during the day, closed at night. The gate by the amphitheater there, that new roll gate, kind of by the cattle barn, that would be closed at night, open during the day. And then the gate up off Grand Avenue where you park for Miller Post, be closed at night, open during the day. The other gates, the north ticket gate would be closed, we'll say during the wintertime, all the time. Summer probably be open. At least that's what I'm guessing. I mean, that's what I would suggest now.
Is that the
It
one
seems
by
like we
the-
have a lot of problems in the wintertime.
That's the old tennis court?
Yes, that gate there by the bathroom, the old bathroom there. The gate on, the new roll gate at the intersection of Grand Avenue and Veterans Drive would be closed all the time during the winter. And then this one's already been closed for a while now. The northwest ticket gate there by the Midway, that's been closed.
That's been closed
For a long
years.
time, yeah. So those three gates would be closed, I would say during the wintertime, all the time. In the summertime, we could probably open it up. It seems like we have the most issues during the wintertime. Probably because it gets dark earlier and kids have more time on their hands, I guess. I don't know.
Didn't we?
That
Oh, I'm sorry.
that having been said, some of the most, what I'm noticing is some of the most severe damage is on the low side of the dam.
Notice that too, yeah.
And then they've started on the the lower parking lot at the All Abilities. They're running
Yes,
up
they're
that,
by the
they're
gazebo-
running up that
gazebo.
hill, which neither one of those are protected by
Right.
closed gates.
Didn't we, pardon me, didn't we discuss at one time having some cameras installed?
Yes, and so that's still in the works too. I had a meeting this week about that. And so that money had to be budgeted, and then the city, because I'm put on the committee since some of the places that we have cameras and we want cameras would be in the parks. So the city is working with NOC on getting cameras installed and not just there, but a number of places around the city. And the money was budgeted. I think the equipment has to be purchased yet, but we have on one of the future sites, near future would be to have cameras put up there too.
Now,
That would
is-
shine on the field.
Is the entire, Fairgrounds Park covered by Wi-Fi?
No, not the entire park. Up by the pool is pretty good, by Ronzik Field, that whole area by the main park shelter, or pavilion, I should say, and the pool, that's all supposedly covered pretty well. And then I believe up by the soccer fields and baseball fields is covered, I think, fairly well.
Yeah.
The other parts of the park, I don't
So we-
believe are.
It wouldn't be feasible to take a camera and just set it up temporarily and use the Wi-Fi to, for a feed and focus it on areas that are being vandalized.
Possibly, I'd have to check with NOC or, IT people on that. I guess another possibility. One thing I thought of too, and I haven't checked with Chief on this, but sometimes you see it at different places where they station a cop car. They'll just leave a cop car in the parking lot,
Yeah.
and that just the presence of a police officer's car sometimes
Yeah.
So I can talk to them about that too and see if that would be an option, if they have an extra car to leave out there.
We talked about the cameras in a few more spots, but like the back of the main stage was an issue a couple years ago.
Right.
So the cameras are there, and that's fine. Now we're talking the bottom of the dam. We'd have to put cameras from
Yeah.
the stage.
Yeah, and
Well,
it's-
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying against it, I'm just saying that, all of a sudden now we're encompassing a large area.
Right.
To try to
But
keep
I'm just saying, for, to, not C-clamp, but, clamp a camera on a utility pole and focus it on that area. If it were Wi-Fi fed, you wouldn't have to have an entire series of cameras.
Correct.
To cover that entire, you could concentrate on that sole area.
Something portable.
yeah, I mean, might be able to do like a trail camera or something.
Right, that's more in the line of what we have. parked.
Yeah, do a trail camera, just put it on a tree, put it high enough you can't.
Right. I mean, my thoughts by the All Abilities Park was, the concrete bollards that are 10 foot apart, then you gotta cut grass around them all, but you almost gotta keep them from driving up and down that hill. But you have the same problem heading up to the soccer field. They're in the grass there on either side,
Yeah, it's just,
And, as Chad said, it's kind of a cyclical thing. That you get a group that, they see a track like, oh, I can do that, all of a sudden it becomes a problem.
I think currently, the solution would be to lock the gates. What we're talking about, like currently, because we've had issues in the last couple months. But I would like, if cameras would be down the road or whatever. I guess I always assumed that those two gates going into the fairgrounds were locked at night. And I mean, I guess I'm going from way back, but when those gates were initially put up, I think the police went through and,
Drive there, they used to be shut every night.
yeah,
Oh,
they used
the-
to lock them.
the north and south ticket gate.
And I'm always assuming that has always happened. And so if that's not
I was
what's
under the
going,
assumption they still work.
yeah, if that is not the case, then I think we do need to lock, because it's really sad that we have to do this. That's one of the things, I didn't even want that fencing in the begin with, because but if we can't keep paying for damage, and it's not, the damage is expensive, and if we're not catching the people that are doing it, then the city or the parks budget, we're paying for it. And until such time people can be responsible, then I guess we have to lock the gates.
Another thing you think about too, I know some businesses in town, I can't mention them, but they have a camera by their two doors, I guess you might say, coming in and out of their business. But they have some fake cameras set up. Some of your stores do that same thing. But they also have signs. This area is monitored, and the sign's rather inexpensive, but when people see that, oh, there might be a camera somewhere, you know. Sometimes even a motion light coming on, that a fake camera by it, and they see that light, see that camera, so, oh, I better behave myself, you know.
Right.
Sometimes that's a deterrent by itself.
You had mentioned, Wayne, you had mentioned in the beginning that you were going to close gates but not lock them.
Correct.
Why wouldn't you lock them?
I think I could be wrong. I think we could run into problems with, say, Fair Board people when they want to get up in there to work. And, you know, it's a little different in the winter, but I think we could run into problems where people that need to be up there could, you know.
Just
and
walk or-
I don't want to give out 800 keys for people to have access to the fairgrounds, you know, Fair Board members and things like that when they need to get into a building to check on something or things like that.
Well,
I think just closing them, because if you're going up there to do destruction, you're not going to take the time to get out of your car, open the gate, go up there, spin donuts, and then leave. I think if you're going to do it, you're going to come in off the street pretty fast, do what you need to do, and then get the heck out of
But
there.
your idea is those 3 locations that you were talking about, you would lock those for the entire winter months.
Well, one of them's already locked, permanently locked, basically, that northwest gate. The other one would be the north ticket gate by the bathroom, the tennis court and bathrooms. Just leave that one locked, like all winter. And then the new roll gate at the corner of Grand and Veterans Drive, just leave that one. Because there's one right up the hill that most
Right.
people, if you go to Miller Post, most people park there.
Would you
And so you're
consider,
limiting access. If people do get in there and spin donuts, they don't have 5 different ways to get out. They might only have 2 to get out.
would you consider locking all of those gates that you close, and then if it becomes a problem, then unlocking them?
Yeah, I guess you
Rather than
could.
just the opposite, because I don't know, the way I look at it, if people are driving by there and they want to get in there, and they see the gates aren't locked, they're going to go in. That's my thought process.
I agree- I
Tend to leave a
agree
little
more
snow
with
on the ground,
Wayne.
somebody wants to go out and do some donuts because the snow's down, you know, and
You're talking
they're
young
flying there.
kids, though.
They're doing it at every parking lot around the city.
Yeah, right.
We just happen to have grass, so it happens to
Yeah.
cause damage.
I said, I agree with Sparky in the degree that the ones that are doing damage are young, fairly young people. God, I hope it's not older people, but young people. And if they can get in, they're gonna get in.
Yeah,
And
but I
so-
agree with Wayne, they're too darn lazy to get out of the car to do it.
I think
do
that,
too.
I don't know.
Well,
And
I mean, we
the
could
other
try it.
Problem you'll have
I don't
is when
know.
you lock those gates, you better have gone through every inch of that fairground and whatever.
sure nobody-
That's nobody's in there sleeping in their car.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Oh,
I didn't think about
does
that.
happen.
that's a good point.
And that does happen.
Good point.
Because how they, you know,
Yeah, that's very,
That does happen. There are.
Yeah, I didn't think about
there've been
that.
you imprison somebody without actually trying to do that.
Yeah, but technically, the parks are supposed to close.
Okay,
All right,
accidents happen.
I do know that there are people sleep in their cars, I do know that. But technically, the parks are supposed to close and open at a certain time. So, I mean, maybe it would take the police, I don't know, a while, you know, a few weeks, maybe a month, and then if this would all happen, we'd let the community know, due to damage, we are now having to lock these gates. The park closes at this time and opens at this time. I guess I always thought from way back when, that's always the
But
way
see,
it's been.
They're just gonna go on the other side of the park. They're gonna go down along the dam and
Well,
do
that's
damage
what
there.
then-
They're
then-
gonna go down in Indian Valley and do damage
Well,
down there.
they have before, but isn't that then, the next step would be the cameras down there? Or if you got the I'm just saying, if,
I think
I'm
we
just
all
saying-
Let's
agree-
try just closing them.
We all agree that the first step is we close those gates.
Yeah, we can
That's
close
where we're
them,
at right now, we're gonna close those gates.
what happens.
and
see what happens.
See what happens from there.
Well, I make a,
Deter something, then great.
I make a motion, we do that.
I make a motion that we don't let the paper put that in the paper.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
Gates aren't really closed.
yeah,
Aren't
let
really
them
locked.
think they're locked. It's better than, good girl,
You can put it in the paper that they're locked and then don't lock them.
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think,
Dummy lock.
yeah, I would like to
People
have
that
an
are doing
article
this aren't
that,
going.
why we're doing it, like a
Yeah.
nice
Because
article,
of damage.
small article.
It's kind of like bathrooms, when we had to lock some of the bathrooms because of the amount of damage that was being done.
Just hang a lock on
Or
it,
when
but
we
don't
sat on the
latch it,
trail,
yeah.
we weren't
Oh,
gonna
shoot,
let
there's a lock on
dogs
it.
down there because nobody would pick up all the dog poop. I mean, you gotta, they're forcing our hands to do this.
I was really hoping I think it was right after the fair when that truck flipped over up there, that kid flipped his truck up there, and it was in the paper, a nice big picture in the paper. I was hoping that might deter some of them, but it hasn't.
All right, so do you need a second?
So for right now, we're gonna lock them.
We're gonna close them, yep.
Close them, and then
I
if
mean,
it,
close them, I'm sorry.
Close them, lock them. We have a motion by Bob, do we have a second?
Do we need a motion on that?
Yeah, do we, well, it's gotta go to council.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to go to council. They just really wanted us to talk, right, Jeff? I mean,
Correct. This
Oh,
is
so
not,
not
this is not an
then.
ordinance and anything we're gonna vote on. It's the fact that
Okay.
we're letting the park department know that we think we should close those gates, so we're gonna close them.
That-
My
So it's
suggestion
really
was
nice of you
come
to
back
let
to
us
you
know.
guys,
That's
You guys
good.
know that, that's all.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. I like that. You've
Yeah.
already decided.
anything else, Wayne?
don't have anything else.
Yeah, why'd we waste?
I don't blame you, Jeff.
I guess speaking on that subject, why we're wasting time, something I'd like you guys to think about. The city council workshop meeting has changed in the last, 9 months ago or so. We used to be the fourth Monday of the month. And then this meeting followed that a week later, now we're the first Monday of the month. So usually you miss, I guess is what I'm saying. And back to where we would know about Jackie's plaque and things like that. The timing of this meeting and our workshop meeting for the Wayne's reports and et cetera, even, this meeting was supposed to be a week ago.
Yeah.
Right,
So
it's
it was
supposed
2
to
days
be on
after
the
our
5th.
first council meeting. Wayne comes to the meeting and asks the council to approve equipment, the blade, the aerator,
Yes.
and things like that, okay? To no fault of Wayne's, that should go through the park board, and you guys should have approval, and it should come to the city council in a week or two later and have approval, and we'll move on. Right now, we're approving at the council, and then we're coming back and letting you know we did this. We did the Jackie Miller, and now we're coming back and letting you know we did this. So my suggestion is, can you have this meeting the last Wednesday of the month? Or, in other words, before the first council meeting of the month. We're doing our workshop meeting the first Monday of the month at 6 o'clock. Does that make sense, Wayne?
Yes.
It's kind of this,
So
So
have
if we looked at
have it
February-
another Monday, any other Monday, or, any other Wednesday
I
other than
just,
the first?
yeah, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, the other day, you were 2 days after our council meeting, and you're getting told what we did instead of being a park board. The purpose of this is to discuss what
So
Wayne
we
wants to
can
go
take it
and
back.
budget.
Makes more sense.
And again, Darren is telling me, don't reinvent the wheel here, because these items are already been in the budget. So Wayne's not going above anybody or around you to do anything, but it's discussion that should be had at this meeting, that this is what we're doing now, we're going out to bid for this, here's where we're at on this, and then it goes to you pass something to council, it's not gonna go anywhere until 3 weeks from now,
Well, the council meets the second and the fourth,
first and third,
Yes.
the first
first and third
Monday.
Monday.
And when is your other meeting?
The workshop meeting is the first Monday of the month,
Before the council.
correct.
Got it. So,
You're suggesting we have this
On the fourth.
on any other
If you
Wednesday?
have it the last Wednesday of the month,
on the,
then you would be aware, and then a week later, we would be at a council meeting approving it.
4 times a year.
like if this month
Four
we have
times a
it on
year,
the
it would be the
26th.
Yeah, and again, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, I'm just trying to get you guys in the loop better, and that way the system, it used to be we were the fourth Monday of the month,
So you're saying the fourth Wednesday of the
fourth
month?
Wednesday of the month is better than the first Wednesday of the month,
Or the 5th.
time frame.
Then we,
4 times a year, there's a 5th Wednesday.
So either
then
the
we only
fourth,
have,
Wednesday.
no,
You don't have
I'm
to
saying
change
the
it now, just
Just think about
think
it.
about it,
Well, he
and
wants it the
I
last
think you would
week.
be better.
I guess the 4th would be all right.
yeah.
If it was always the fourth, I think we'd be okay. But we can think about it and bring it up next month.
You just think about it.
When
It
maybe
doesn't-
some more members are here and see what their
I
lives are
find
like.
myself at a city council meeting
If they're
saying,
not, if they're not here, they ain't gonna be.
I
here.
vote yes, but I think we need to talk to the park board. And we need, the whole point of you being here is to have another set of eyes and ears to suggest, and we're,
Right, well, and it would, I do think being, the park board, they should have known. And it's, no, it's done. But with Mrs. Miller and all of that, somebody from, that's a big deal to the park board. And
That
that's,
just-
you know what I mean? And that's nobody's, I'm not blaming anybody, but when things, that's
The
important.
ball got dropped.
The bulk, yeah, and whether it be the council that does it or whoever, things like that, we need to know. So if you think that would be a better time, and we would have better information of what's coming up,
the gates at the fairground would be locked already if we would have talked about this at the park board meeting, city council meeting, and it's done and it's over. You know what I'm saying? Instead of
Right,
waiting, it takes
right.
a month for it to happen, that's all.
right?
Suggestion, think about it, talk about it next week.
Okay.
It doesn't make meaning. We have a quorum here. We can make the decision,
Yeah,
correct?
Well, and I haven't
And
even talked to Wayne
I
about
don't-
this.
I
I'm
don't-
bringing this up for my own personal, so.
Oh, yeah, what
maybe
is
schedules
Wayne's
don't
life
work for
like?
Wayne. I'm
What
just
does that do
simply
to
saying-
you?
Oh, I don't know, I'd have to look at my calendar. I mean,
Well,
We
why
oughta-
don't, you need to look
gotta
as
get more
being the
input.
director
I
to
mean,
see.
we're shy a few people now, and, don't make it worse.
No, but we do need to let Wayne see what that
Well,
does to his
we'll put it
schedule.
put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah.
It's a talking point, that's fine. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be
It's another,
voted on tonight, I'm just simply
Yeah.
saying.
Just put it on
you
there.
can see
the fourth-
Casey
the
if
fourth
that works for you. I
Wednesday.
mean, we say this and you guys are all involved in
That's
this,
right.
so.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, because they'd be out. Good point.
I had a question before we adjourn. I'm sure that's probably what our next step's going to be, but has there ever been any discussion in this community about an RV park?
Yes.
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 It has, okay. And it,
Ninth and International.
There have been several places, both on the city government level and even on the parks level and on the fair board level.
Chamber.
And on the chamber level, and on, I even think Rotary and Lions, there's been a lot of discussion. It's a matter of placement, numbers, size,
There is a committee
Convenience.
in the chamber that we were meeting. I guess I got dropped for now. I don't know. Lack of interest or one was lack of money.
funding.
But it was Ninth International. I think the city was doing a drawing.
That's a
I
long
don't
time.
know that I ever got,
I don't think they got
done.
completed.
I've never seen a drawing for Ninth and International, I've seen a drawing off Bernard,
Yeah.
but that was the.
That was the latest, that was the latest discussion I
You
had
got
heard
the,
was.
you got the disc golf at Ninth and National.
well, I
well,
think,
this is in the rugby field.
I kind of
I
looked
think there was room for 27.
Valley there?
down there on is it West 9th Street down there where when I used to live at South Bend Drive years
Right.
ago, and that open field down there,
Right, that's where it was at.
now,
That's where the drawings started.
I hear that's from a lot of out-of-towners, people that come to our fairs a lot. It says, how come Washington doesn't have an RV park? Herman does quite well. I mean, it's full.
They actually took a tour one day.
Yes.
Went to
Yeah,
Herman.
We went to Herman.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
They've been to Herman and somewhere else too that had decent.
Oh, they went 3 or 4
Okay,
places.
no,
I didn't get to go, but.
To me,
Tourism
it's,
Committee has been part of the chamber.
Yes.
it would be
Yeah.
extra revenue for the city or even for the parks, as far as that goes. Anyway, it's just a thought.
No, it's a good thought.
It's still, I think it's still floating out there. It's just not on the front burner right now.
I want to say they even got bids. It was either 175,000 or 275,000. But they had the roads paved, the water, sewer, electric.
And this was at
This was down there in the rugby. The
Ninth and
rugby-
International?
Yeah,
Yeah. Isn't that flood?
no. Well, that's actually prime RV park.
But then one of,
No, that's what they-
that
no, that's
was,
because
but then one of the other discussions
Because
from
it's
the
moved,
chamber,
everything's.
they wanted it closer to the fairgrounds, so that was another part of it. They wanted it closer
that
to the
wasn't gonna happen.
fairgrounds because of the pool and because of the fair and because of the all abilities. So then they were looking at a whole different area, and then I think it just all kind of stopped. So it's not that it's not been discussed, and I think it will come back around. It's just financing, I thought was a big deal.
Okay.
Speaking of the Chamber of Commerce, I guess we ought to commend
No, we
yeah.
give our condolences to the chairman
I
this year.
agree.
No, we
I
shouldn't.
agree. Congratulations.
Leave that alone.
You see him in the newspaper with suits on. You won't recognize him.
That's right.
Okay, are there any other comments, questions, concerns? Nothing else? I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Exactly what.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Jeff.
Jeff.
Thanks, Wayne.
Right on the button.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.